name back during the day.
Well, many, companies. I mean, it started off. It was just university students.
I wonder what happened to AOL. I think that's still under boots. I don't
Oh
know.
well, AOL exists as a brand more than anything these days.
And I confess to say I still have a whole bunch of the old AOL discs that they sent out, that I just sort of shoved off to one side.
Oh, that was horrendous. That is bad. They kept sending fucking discs to our mail, and it was just continuous. What a joke.
Used to use them for freebie or frisbees, but yeah, coasters same.
Yeah. I think I still have one still laying about in my bedroom. And Jesus, I'm not gonna still have my computer. Fuck knows
Clean
what
your
happened.
room.
Trust me, you don't understand what I have. I have like Super Nintendo, Amiga, and yeah.
Well,
Goes on.
okay, so it's 10 minutes after the hour. I figured that's long enough to wait for other people to show up. One non-Cody thing. There's been a lot of talk about the name of the project and logos and things like that. So I know Kalila in particular wanted to do a contest, and I'm not announcing that now because she's not here. But I guess all I have to say about it is we need a project name that everybody likes. We need a logo and icons and things like that that everybody can get behind. So I'd encourage everybody to think about that.
Crap, I can't really think how to do
and
that.
And maybe work on some designs or whatever.
I'm trying to think at the moment how I would do a logo for something like that. I don't know.
And hey, Ben. And
hey, sorry,
so
I had problems logging in.
How dare you, sir? Let's see. The Project Athena, as it's currently known, it's moving along. We're making a lot of progress in terms of making sure we can build once Hi-Fi goes down. Their repos are closed. We're in good shape there. We've already got lots of little fixes and things. There was a problem, for example, with audio devices not properly being detected in all circumstances. And we can thank Fluffy here for fixing that. At least as near as I could tell, I ran it 10 times, and I wasn't able to get it to behave badly. So that's ready to go. Let's see, what else? Toys is working on the ability to change the Metaverse API to point at wherever you damn well choose. Dale is working on some stuff related to graphics presets. Vegasland just submitted some changes to. This is another thing that a lot of us can do who aren't overly technical. Is a lot of the documentation we have right now references sci-fi, and we need to change that over.
It's redirected, yeah.
Yeah, we've got one from Vegasland already. That looks great.
Were you guys on about the documentation?
Yeah, well, like the build Vegasland just went through and redid all the build guides, so they no longer refer to
hi-fi. The ones in the GitHub.
Well, there's GitHub, and as far as the documentation, I mean, that's not something I've paid a lot of attention to. You're hosting something, I guess.
Yeah, I already backed up the documentation and the API hooks.
Mm-hmm. Are they actually online now, or?
They've been online since the first day of this.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay, so and that's something other people can edit to on GitHub. Is that how that works?
Yeah, it sort of is.
It's just mirrored at the moment.
Okay.
I think I did set up the GitHub for the documentation one.
Okay.
There should be a link on there because I redirected all the links to go to the right place. Apparently, there's some missing things on there though. So
How
if you
big?
hit anything,
Sorry. How big
yeah,
are
if you
those
hit anything, let me know.
How big are those documentation files, by the way?
Not very big.
Not that big. Go download it yourself off the standard one. Oh, by the
Alright.
way, it's docs.fluffy.ws or api.docs.fluffy.ws.
Okay, very well.
The API docs are still being.
What was that?
Oop, oop.
Oh, he
God
crashed out.
damn it. Yeah, he's having trouble today. Sorry, Dale. Could you start over?
I think that was David. Was
I'm
it?
sorry, David. Sorry, David.
Yeah.
Could you start over?
Yeah, the API docs are generated from the source code, and the API docs, the store PRs going into the main hi-fi repository, tidying up loose ends. I've probably got 2 more PRs to do. I've got 2 up at present. Will be merged in next week, I hope. And I've got 2 more to do before the end of the year.
Awesome.
When are they? Should I just push those ones up on the website for now then, or
Well, they
should
refer
I
to the
wait?
current code. They refer to the current code base, so they're not. They've got updates since 0.86, so I don't know what Project Athena's intentions are with respect to 0.87.
Okay. So sorry, my pet robot's throwing a hissy fit. Stop it. Go to bed.
So I know other things we're working on are well, other things we've already got merged in are things like a lot of Sam Gondelman's PRs. You know, things like for shaders and an improvement for GLTF alpha. That's been merged in. Maki did a patch that allows you to designate a lot of the ports for the server side stuff via environment variables, which is very useful if you're doing something like Docker. So that's going to be in our next in the K2 release. Fluffy's been working on a chat app. I'm hoping we can get that in like on for K2 as well.
I believe they'll be going in. Toys will be doing a preliminary code review later. So
Cool. One thing I did, and it's little thing, but makes a big difference in my opinion, is I did. Speaking of shaders, we had to set that environment variable to enable them at all. I removed that. That's no longer a thing. Right. So they'll still be disabled by default, but you can simply enable them in the developer menu without having to do a restart or dive into your environment variables. Let's see. There were we can now whitelist entity scripts, which is pretty awesome. And QML files as well.
Mm-hmm.
There were some little randomy fixes for people who need to build the code. There were some, particularly with VC package, was a little bit grumpy about some things, so there were a few fixes there. I know a lot of us we still haven't settled on anything, but there's been working on making sure we have a proper installer. Won't be code signed, I don't think, but at least it'll be, a nice installer for people. Kalila, I know, is also working on a launcher. High Fidelity technically comes with a launcher. It's that little, tray icon we get, where we can stop the server, for example.
I've already seen a picture of it, and I see it's quite nice.
Yeah. This is more of a, rather than being that, this is more of an upfront launcher. And right now, I think just the goal is just to have a launcher. But eventually, it could be used to, launch your interface, with various configurations. For example, no VR, or to use a specific metaverse API, or I don't know, other features. It really does. It actually opens up a lot of possibilities to have that kind of thing under our control. Trying to think of what else is going on. There was a lot of discussion on Discord. I know some people were interested in implementing markets and cryptocurrencies and things like that. And the consensus on the Discord was that as a project, we don't want to have to deal with money. From it's just problematic from all kinds of angles, legal, social. But we do want to, obviously enable people to create marketplaces and implement currencies if they so wish. We don't want to stand in the way of that at all. But as a project, it seems like the universal feeling is that no, we shouldn't entangle ourselves in that. It's just
probably better to let the individual users work out how to transact business. Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
I think it's almost going to be aimed on PayPal side, I'm presumed, if anyone's going to do it.
Well,
I know the digital, we call it digital currency is not strong enough in payments. I don't know.
Well, I know, like with OpenSim, back in the early days, there were more than a few people who created vendors that interface with PayPal. So it can be done, certainly.
I think about that option. Maybe be interesting to see.
Let's see. There have been discussions about optimization, how important it is to bake things, and how poorly High Fidelity made the baking experience. First of all, the only way to bake, unless you knew how to use the oven yourself, was via the ATP server, and the ATP server itself kinda sucks. So there's a little bit of discussion on that as a bullet point. There's another big thing that we need to have working before the 15th rolls around is our own audio plugin.
That's if Hi-Fi says we can't use that.
Yeah, but I have to. At the moment, we have to assume the worst, right? So I've already started getting the bare bones skeleton of a plugin together. In that it's integrated with VC package. It appears to be integrated with CMake, the Opus library, and everything that needs to create an Opus plugin. And Dale will be picking up the ball on that. He's going to take some vacation, and he's worked with Opus with the Opus codec before. So hopefully he can whip the C++ side into shape so that we actually have a working implementation.
I still reckon we'll be fine using it.
Well, as a project, it's just due diligence is a good thing, right?
Yeah, cover all your bases.
Well, as long as I can still use the hi-fi codec, I'm fine. Even if I have to put the DIL in myself.
Yeah, and that's probably what's going to happen. Especially if they come back and say no, for a solid no. I don't think there's no reason for us to remove the code for the plugin. We just wouldn't enable it by default.
That makes sense.
That's fine, as long as it's still there, so when they come around and say, oh yeah, you can still use it, we don't have to wait 8 weeks for the next round of...
No, there's no intention of ripping out the entire hi-fi codec. No.
Just let it sleep.
It's just that, right? I mean, basically what's going to happen is, especially if they drag their feet and don't come up with an answer, right now that the hi-fi codec is just a binary, right? That the build system downloads from a high fidelity server, and when they close their servers, that will simply stop working.
Or we could just
we as a project should not redistribute it without a solid okay to do so. I can't stop other people from doing it, but I'm speaking as somebody, if I'm going to be, a member of this project, I don't want to have lawyers coming and banging on my door. Or sending me mail. It's just not a thing I want.
Mm-hmm.
Scary as fuck.
Yeah, nobody should have to deal with that.
Can someone tell me the link then so I can download it?
Oh, I don't have it offhand. You'd have to dig into a VC package for it.
Not again. Not again.
So, I mean, my brain's a little not worky today. But that's about all I can come up with. Anybody else have things that they think that I forgot or we should be discussing?
Yeah, a little bit. This is more on the content side. So things like the current serverless tutorial in their current state would be partially non-functional. Well, not some of it would work, some of it wouldn't. So I think honestly we should just replace the serverless tutorial. And considering I'm one of the people that helped crank that one out, that's there now, I wouldn't mind being involved in replacing it. Whether that be just coming up with our own assets and relocating some of the scripts that were used, like the current mirror script is referencing a high fidelity server.
So let's need to redirect it. Maybe you could put that in a local file in the high fidelity folder, you know what I mean? So it still locates it. Maybe?
Sure. But I also think it would be good just to remove high fidelity owned assets.
Oh, that's a good point, too.
And we don't need anything complicated, just a cozy room of some kind, that feels comfortable. So I'm willing to take that on unless anybody else wants to be involved.
For me, I'm throwing myself around right now on my things.
What is the current serverless experience? Is it still where you go in and you have Jasmine's disembodied voice, or is it?
No, it hasn't been that for like 6 months or so.
So it's like that smaller area with the tree and.
Yeah. It's just tree, and then there's a few little snippets on the walls that tell you how to do a few things. And it was something we kind of cranked out overnight, so we could do better.
Well, it's a place to start, at least.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I was going to design a place like that, part of my dream list would be, one of the things I think that I've seen from like Oculus and Steam that I think were really neat were the fact that they actually had not just a disembodied voice, they had an NPC, right?
Yeah.
Helping to make it fun.
A little hologram or something.
Yeah, something that, greets you and welcomes you. I mean, in person, right? And
sure.
Maybe if we have if we get to the point where we want to do like actual stations, learn how to do this, learn how to do that. It can walk along with you or meet you at the next station or something.
I'm thinking something relatively basic for this first release, and we can expand upon it after that.
Okay.
But it would be nice to have like a little mission statement or something in there as well. So do we have any kind of mission statement for Athena already posted?
We don't, that I know of. I know that just for me personally, my mission statement is enable users. Enable everybody, whether it's content creators, programmers, coders, scripters, social experiences, parties. I want to enable people to do whatever they want to do.
Okay.
There's probably a very succinct way to put it. My brain isn't going to come up with it right now, but I like something along those lines personally as a mission statement.
I'll tell you what, why don't I create a document and I'll throw down some ideas and leave it open for other people to add to it, and then we can edit it and turn it into something quickly digestible that gets the point across.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's something, I don't know if you were here when I was talking about it, but we also definitely need to settle on a project name that everybody agrees on. We need to settle on things like logos and and branding, basically.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I asked everybody to think about that. If Cleela had been here, I know she wants to do a contest. But since she's not here, I'm not going to formally announce any contests because I don't want to run it. But I do want to participate in it. And I have a feeling, it'll probably come down to a top 3 choice where, we can.
Yeah, if it wasn't already taken, I would suggest something like Open Metaverse, but I'm pretty sure that's been nabbed.
It has. It has.
Just to make sure I understand, if this can become successful in some kind of way, it could maybe attract the right people in, but I'm not quite sure if it'll be hard for people to understand how it works. I'm not sure how to answer this question really myself.
Well, that's something else. I mean, with our JavaScripters.
I mean, think about it. Like, if any of our good coders left, and who's going to take it in charge? For example, Kalia left and decided to work on something else. Who will be in charge of that then?
Well, this is something I've been thinking a lot about myself, and I know Kalila has too. I'm of the opinion we need a core group, and not just one actually. I'd like to see groups formed for lots of areas, whether it's working on the code base itself or
Checking out the code or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, and working on the interface, doing Q&A, creating content. I'd like to see lots of groups that are made up of, at least 3 members each. That I would just like to see some kind of organizational structure to us right now, as opposed to the cowboy method that we're kind of employing right now, which is working for now, and it's just fine, right? We're making, we're doing stuff, we're making progress. But eventually, we have to make those kind of executive decisions, or give people the power to make executive decisions, because otherwise it's just going to be constant bickering and arguing eventually. It's just something
we've already seen a little bit of that. All right. Do you feel that's something we necessarily need to do before the 15th?
No, I'm not in a rush. I don't want to rush that. I want to do it right.
Sure. So we get things functioning, and then we figure out what our overall future structure and roadmap might be. Once things are functioning,
I mean, you can still use the client, and the Hi-Fi client info is closed down completely, but yeah.
Well, we need to be able to find each other, and we want new people to be able to pop in and still find some people. I think that's really the main. If I'm correct, that is our focus for the 15th, right? It's just being able to get in and find other people.
Yeah. Speaking of which, that reminds me, Project Athena is not our only project. We also have Project Apollo. And that's, the Project Apollo is intended to be a replacement for High Fidelity's Metaverse API. Terra was working really hard on that, and I've looked at it a little bit. I just haven't had time to engross myself in it because I've been so engaged with Project Athena. But the code I saw, it looks lovely. It's it's still pretty basic, but what's there is lovely. So if you're a C# coder, or a C# coder, by all means feel free to just contribute to Project Apollo as well. Particularly since right now, at least, Tara isn't feeling too well, so she's stepping back a little bit. So yeah, it's gonna need some love if we're gonna have some sort of working Metaverse API going on.
Probably the most important part of the metaverse, so people can find each other. But that's what basically feeds your go to, the places you can go to. It tells it where everybody is and how to find them. And
is there a way you can translate for us non-coders where that stands right now? Like what is completed, what isn't?
I actually don't know all the details. Like I said, I've been pretty much working on Athena, and I haven't looked at Apollo too much.
Okay.
I don't know, darling. You've actually used it a little bit, haven't you?
right now, your interface can connect to it. It can create an account through it with the password and username and all that kind of stuff. Right now, it doesn't look like any places are connected to it, so you can't make places, and it cannot yet verify locations. So if you're signed in, it doesn't verify your user account to your server, even though both of them are signed in. So not all of it's hooked up yet, but it is creating a user account and it is allowing you to sign in.
Okay.
Wow.
That's a start.
Yeah, and like I said, that's written in C# using the .NET platform, which if you're not familiar with that, it's a lightweight version of the whole .NET framework. If you've used Mono or .NET, it's like that, only extremely portable. It's basically the .NET version of Node.js, which means it will run everywhere, um, potentially even on your
Nice.
phone. So
So the real question is, do we have anyone else in the group that's capable of working on that right now? That's a good.
C
Anyone
Sharp's my
who's not.
favorite language, but I haven't used it for years.
yeah,
Gotcha.
me too. Um, it's very tempting to. Unfortunately, right now, the other thing we need is, I know Toys is going to be has volunteered to set up, uh, make sure that we can do automated builds. Um, Up to this point, it's been on community members and to do builds and testing. And I've literally done nothing this whole week but build and test build requests on Linux and Windows. That's like 80% of what I've been doing all week. Um, and yeah, so we really need that automated. So that we don't have one person who's doing nothing but just building code. um, but that shouldn't be too hard to set up. Especially GitHub added there a thing called Actions, so you can actually take advantage of GitHub's resources to do continuous integration, or have it automatically build PRs and things like that. And if we can get that going, maybe I'll have some more free time and I could start looking at Project Apollo more.
Yeah, it looks like Doors has it pretty much working. It's just not uploading to S3 anywhere.
Okay, cool.
Is there anything on anyone else's mind?
I can't think of anything at the moment. So far, I got everything, I think.
Well, here's a question. This is, moving away from the main project, but just a question regarding Discord. Uh, do we want to have some sort of procedure in the situation that we might have to consider removing somebody rather than just kind of winging it?
Yeah, we should definitely have. I mean, we need codes of conduct. We need rules that say you can't abuse people, you can't do this, you can't do that. Or what's appropriate in what channel, for example.
Yeah.
All that usual fun stuff. Yeah, we really should nail something like that down.
I suppose I can come up with some ideas and share them with the group, and we can finesse it from there. I don't mind. Unless anybody else wants to start on that.
No, that's fine with me. I mean, I don't even know who has mod rights on the Hi-Fi Modder.
I think anyone with a green
right
tag, right? Let's see.
No, it's Dale, Marcus, Doris, Kelly.
I do?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do I? Oh, I guess I do. Look at that.
Oh,
See,
okay.
I didn't even know.
Oh, so it's the orange tag. I see. Okay. Well, I suppose I will start a discussion.
Yeah, please do. I mean, because, yeah, it's important. It is. We don't need people behaving badly.
Yeah, I mean, there's some things that you think are obvious, but don't always aren't. Like, calling each other names.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, cool.
All right, and I mean, we've covered a lot of stuff, so I guess, if somebody else thinks of something, by all means, pipe up. But at this point, I'm just going to say, let's open up the table and talk about whatever's on your mind.
It's just sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
And I think I said this to a few of the guys in here. Like the Metaverse API and the way it's going ahead, this is going to be a very powerful system, right? There isn't anything else on the market that does what this does right now, and I already see like large use cases that actually would be perfect for like High Fidelity or Athena or whatever it becomes. We what do we have we have a college right now looking at High Fidelity, right? But I mean, the way they're doing it now, when the Metaverse API is put out, that would mean that they could have their own Metaverse API for their college or university. And I guess even like Kalela was talking about even making it easy for people or organizations to change the launcher and the name of it, so they could have their college's or university's logo there instead of Athena's, right?
I
Yeah,
absolutely think, yeah, and that's something we've kept in mind. I think when we've looked at the branding so far is white label, being able to white label things so that anybody can name it whatever they want.
yeah. But think about literally if colleges could have this just off the shelf, change the image, throw up a Metaverse API, point to their own, give it to their students, and boom, they have their own sign in and everything, all right off the shelf. It's freaking
Yeah, it
amazing. It's awesome.
might take a lot of work removing all the hi-fi references to stuff in it, but I think it would be a good idea. I've always thought that something more like Unity, that could be used for little presentations or games or advertising or whatever, that would be, just a way to do it anonymous, Anyway, just a thought.
Well, and I'm hoping we can come up with a Metaverse API that's flexible in terms of. I like to see something that's federated, right? Where if I'm running, my bunch of domain servers and NovaJone is running a bunch of domain servers, that um, it would be kind of like a states over an SL. You could say, you could sign up on my Metaverse API, but I would like it if my Metaverse API could talk to Nova Jones and say, Nova Jones could say, "Hey, is this guy authenticated on your server?" And I say yes, and he's like, "Oh, okay, well then I'll allow him in."
Yeah, but in some cases you wouldn't want that if you were an
No,
education
exactly,
thing,
and that's why, again, flexibility. So it should also be able to, Darling has an excellent point. I mean, there are lots of things, whether it's medical, medical or educational or enterprise
Psychiatry.
where people want and need privacy. They need their data completely under their control. Um, and yeah, that should be a thing too.
Uh,
Absolutely.
You don't want students being able to, wander around party land while they're going to school.
Yeah, that'd be a
Right.
huge
Right.
concern.
And if they have lectures or those kind of things, they kind of want their students being those lectures and not whoever happens to find their connection and wander in, you know.
Well, that reminds me of the Moses thing in the, I guess it was the army or the military. I participated in that for a while, and it was sort of interesting because it was open sim based. I guess originally I think it was SL based, but they made a bunch of changes to it, and I played a, what was it, an auto mechanic in some Mideastern city that was being invaded by the U.S. Army or something. It was very weird. But
Yeah, I think there's a
So if we're
lot we could
thinking,
learn. I'm sorry.
sorry.
Go ahead.
So if we're thinking about, people wanting to use it for education and all that, maybe we should bring in Kaylee, who I believe is already using High Fidelity for that, and have them consult a little bit and see what their needs are.
That would be great.
I can reach out.
As far as enterprise people go, I know you may have seen the name around Elise Van Marie. She works for HP Labs. I know they've been playing around with hi-fi in their labs, and since that official hi-fi or the old hi-fi is going down, will be the only replacement in town. So she's another one to keep an eye out for.
I don't think I've met them.
I think Fumberland might be pushed to go to the Keysen client because it's all open source.
Fumberland are staying on 86.
Really? Gee whiz.
Their use case is such that they need a stable environment, and as long as it keeps working, why fuck with it, right?
Good point,
Exactly.
actually.
They don't need place names. They don't need authentication.
As long as they got the client, it's fine. Yeah. Yeah, I see where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
I just love it when it comes quiet and I can just work on my stuff.
Right. I would like to make a suggestion.
Ah.
Tomorrow, I think it might be an idea to still hold a saloon. And I
What
actually
occasion?
a salon, rather. Same fucking
A
word.
little bit of a difference. That's okay though.
A salon then. And I've actually already got a good sort of topic.
Well,
Because
I
it's
mean,
one that we actually need to listen to.
I love the idea of keeping the salon going. I've enjoyed it a whole lot. Um, I suggest we ask Fran if she still wants to do it, and if she doesn't, then Fluffy, do you think you could host and run a salon?
I don't think she's here tomorrow anyway, so.
Yeah, she said she's gone for the next couple of weeks, but she did say she'd leave the place open if somebody was interested in, doing something. So
All right.
message
Well,
her.
let's plan on doing it then.
And
Yeah,
if it's not available, of course,
have
you
your
can always do
topic
stuff
and
here.
make your poster.
Just out of curiosity, what is your topic?
The topic is how can non-coders that are critical to the community can get involved with the projects that are reshaping hi-fi. without
It's an important
any
question.
code.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense.
I can think of lots of ways.
But we need to listen to them seriously, so
Mm-hmm.
so we can get a good grasp on what they need, what they would like. I mean, if hopefully we don't get silly things like, "Oh, can you make me a cup of tea?" But things like better ways to use the interface, etc.,
No,
etc.
no, I agree. I think there's a lot of pain points that we've gotten used to. We don't even notice those pains anymore. But hopefully there are users who, especially newer ones who arrive, will run into this stuff. And when they say,
Yeah, but there's
"Why is this
plenty of
weird?"
older
We
ones
want to
as
listen to
well.
them. Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And hopefully the new people will remind us of old ones we've gotten used to. Is my point. Um, yeah.
Actually, here's one. Or here's a question. So even though I was with High Fidelity and I've been helping you guys and all that, GitHub is still somewhat mysterious to me when it comes to its structure. I've gotten to understand, that a pull request is sort of a version with some changes applied that you can actually download and test out. But what I don't understand is things like, is there a way to look at pull request to a pull request and know that that's already been added to master? If it says
There is.
merged, is it in master already, or?
Yeah, there is. And you can see that pretty easily on GitHub.
Well, that's just it.
What
Like,
we
maybe
really
it is
need,
easy, but
what we really need is somebody who's willing to give like a class. um, Git is not easy. I'm still learning it. I've learned a lot. I've learned a tremendous amount this last week. Um, but yeah, it would be nice if we had somebody who knows Git pretty well, willing to like do a class. I think that would be awesome.
Should we save this discussion for the salon? Salon. Yeah, because that's the sort of thing that we should really talk about there.
all right, could do that.
Fluffy.
Hello.
Yes, yesterday you were talking about autocomplete in the terminal. Did you ever figure that out?
People gave me some CMake code to try, and I haven't tried it yet.
Oh.
Because apparently it's just because Wait, are you on K2?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's because. Excuse me. Sorry. It's because they removed a bit of code that was needed in order to generate the JS docs properly for interface to use for the autocomplete stuff.
Ah, okay. Was that High Fidelity's end, or is it after split to
No,
K2?
it's literally just some code that you need to put in your.
Normally, it's
okay.
all auto-generated, and it was not being done.
Ah, so if it was in there, it would work?
It should.
Could
It
I have
should.
a copy of that code, and where is that? Where does it need to go?
I believe there was a pull request, a commit was made that stopped the JS docs from being generated during the build process, but Kalila said that could be reverted.
Oh, okay. So the older versions of High Fidelity doesn't work?
Yeah, it
No.
works in high fidelity, just not in Project Athena.
Damn. Okay. I'll have to open up the older one.
No, it's literally just a CMake change.
So I never tried it. Fluffy told me about it yesterday. I was like, I'm intrigued. I must see this.
Yeah, it's just commented out in Sumac. You just have to uncomment it. Comment it.
I had a quick question. I was just wondering what the status of the plugin DLL thing was. Did that actually get merged into 86?
I believe that is merged into.
If you're talking
What
about
we're in.
ModKit, then it is.
Yeah, I
Then it's in.
guess. Yeah, it is in. Okay, because I think that as new hardware comes out, other stuff besides just headsets, but it'd be real nice to be able to keep on track. Something cool comes out, we could add it in there somehow.
I'm trying out Fluffy's new chat thing. It's awesome.
You're chatting in local, man. Looks of it.
I've chatted in local and Fluffy Dev.
Oh yeah.
Is anybody else seeing 2 copies of Marcus, or is it just my client?
No, there are 2
my
copies of me.
Okay, just checking. Be right back.
But that does remind me. Another thing I think a lot of us are just assuming is that we want a default chat in by default.
Well, that is used by everyone.
Right.
So.
And personally, I would like it to be Fluffy's chat.
Obviously, side corner screen and everything, it makes it good.
I agree, it's quite nice. Although I guess there is a question. Do we currently have a way to, if somebody wants to disable the on-screen text? Like, I love it, I want it, I'm there, but somebody may decide, well, they want to keep it in the window.
Well, the on-screen text is only... The on-screen text is part of the notification call, which I wanted to get in because it can provide users with other things if utilized. I mean, I can probably add a function and turn it off, but...
I think there's probably going to be some people that will ask, "Hey, can I make that go away for now?" Like, I like it, I want it, I'm going to leave it on at all times, but I'm just thinking ahead. I don't know if anybody else has any other feelings on it.
People don't say that in Second Life, though. So...
I know some people who don't like the text on Second Life like that. But anyway, I'm just trying to think for other people. If nobody else thinks it's an issue, then maybe it's not.
I would agree. I'd like the ability to turn it off. I mean, I can't give you an exact use case, but I can see, if you were doing Fumbleland or something, I don't think you'd want that there, or in some other situations.
Oh yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah.
Or you're doing something like that. Yeah.
Or shooting videos.
Yeah,
exactly.
or even
Oh shit, yeah, that would make sense.
doing an art thing, or who knows.
I thought normally the snap.
Well, you heard him, Fluffy. Chop chop.
What?
You heard him. Chop chop.
I think that's just being an insult to killing the
I mean,
ponies.
it's ultimately your project. We're not going to tell you what you should be doing. But I just wanted to share that thought.
Well, if he wants to listen to the users.
Sorry, what's that? I couldn't hear you.
So, it is the top of the hour, um, which means if we want to, we can officially put a pin in this for today, um, and just, wander around and do our usual thing, um, where we discuss things in a more organic and social way.
And now back to Kenneth with the weather. Kenneth?
It's not there.
Okay. I just looked over there and I'm thinking it's cloudy, but
Yeah, it's cloudy as usual.
Yeah. The space of emptiness. Phew. Minute.
One thing I wonder, is there any way for us to test what it's going to be like on the 16th next month?
What?
Well, we're doing our best. Right now, I think when it comes to we already have
Just
a
turn
zip
your internet
file.
off.
But the Metaverse API, I think, is the thing that's I'm worried about. I think the most. We can live without it to an extent, but it also has some stuff that is really nice to have, like being able to keep anonymous people off your domain and things like that. So I think it's
One
important
thing,
that Apollo get some real love before the 15th.
for me, it's been years since I tried. I mean, back a long time ago, I tried it a bunch, just running it, not connected to the internet. In other words, have a local network here and run a couple of domains and then log in and see, not log in, but just try it out and see if I could connect to everything and all that. And it used to work, but I don't know. It's been probably 3 years or more since I tried that. And I'm just wondering, has anybody else done that lately?
No, I haven't tried that lately.
Yeah, it might be interesting to see.
I mean, I know on my local network, if I like punch in my local IP address, I can just jump into my domain.
But have you tried disconnecting your local network from the internet? That's the question, because
No, yeah, you're thinking about because of the ice server. Is that what you're getting at?
yeah. I mean, see,
Yeah, we should.
I used to have my domain set up with fixed IPs, and actually I didn't use the punch through, the auto networking stuff at all for the original ones,
Mm-hmm.
because back when they first started it here, they didn't have that, so I didn't have any choice, and it did work back then. But since they switched everything to the auto networking, because I ran into some issues um, on startup, depending on which things started first, and my router and this and that, I switched it all over to the auto networking, and I haven't really tried it since then. But maybe I'll give it a try sometime and see what happens.
Yeah, I don't know for sure. I mean, I can say that I'm still using. I am not using automatic networking on my domains. And it seems to work, but there's no telling if unless I actually yank myself off the internet, there's no telling if it'll fail for whatever reason, if the ice server isn't there. Because even when it's weird, even when you turn off automatic networking, the ice server it still pings it. I mean, it still reaches out for it. I don't know why it does that, but it does.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
part of that just may be because of GoTo and stuff like that.
I can answer that one. The ICE server is nothing more than a server that allows you to do not hole punching behind the firewall.
Right.
And it's always going to reach out because the intended purpose of it is to create tunnels where people can't do it. So basically, it takes your IP address and it takes another person's IP address and it does a handshake connection. So, like, let's say you're running High Fidelity on your home server. It just works right now. That's because of the ICE server. Without that ICE server, a lot of people running their computers at home, it's not going to work anymore.
Yeah, but if you do have net, if you have it set up correctly, it should work though. I
Yeah, if you
understand
have all
why
your
it
ports
wouldn't
set up.
work. Yeah, I understand that because that, originally that's what we had to do here. Because there was no other way to do it.
Yeah, and I'm doing it that way now just because I'm kind of anal. I like to know that it works no matter what. Um, but that's something else to talk about is we may need to host our own ice server somewhere. Um, I
But
know that.
the ice server connects up to the Metaverse API and verifies, does the handshake. Without the Metaverse API up yet, we don't know how to configure the ice server yet.
Well, regardless, I mean, it's something we need to figure out because I know the number one reason that people over in OpenSim could not run their own regions or grids was because networking is hard. Most people just don't know networking, and even if they follow the steps needed, a lot of those home routers out there don't do things like NAT loopback.
Yeah,
If
exactly.
any.
I was going to say that the early ones, people would run into that problem all the time.
Yeah. So I think it's important that we make running and hosting, domains as easy as possible. And if that means hosting an ice server, it's something we need to address. Or we may be
Unfortunately,
able to, for example, doesn't Google run a public tons or a public? I don't think it's an ice server, but it's something very similar. There are public servers out there that do the same thing, stun servers and whatnot. We might need to turn to that as a possibility.
Well, it builds an ice server for you. You can run that on like DigitalOcean or something. It's not that hard to do.
Sure.
The documentation is kind of lax on it. It doesn't have all the, especially for the Linux build, it doesn't have all the information to get it to work.
Unfortunately, that's not this. It's a centralized service, and I would like to stay away from things like that.
Who is it?
Just
I'm sorry.
just in theory or just in principle.
Who said that we should attach the ice server to the Metaverse API? I know somebody said that recently, and it might be a good thing to look at if that's a possibility.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know that conversation came up recently, but I can't remember who brought it up.
Why did I come back to awkward silence?
7-minute lull.
We're thinking deep thoughts.
Well, it's just like, if
yes.
we added SIP support that also worked with stuns, the session initiation protocol, had things like the capability of for like showing presence and stuff like that. Of course, that's more of a a telephone type protocol, but it has a lot of features that could be useful.
Yeah. I hope our back end is going to be pretty much one for one for the original, so that people don't have to change from, like, if they choose to use an older version of High Fidelity, they can modify it and still use it.
Well, I think we should have two protocols, one that doesn't change and one that has the new stuff. So you can always fall back to the old one if you have a version that's not compatible.
I would just like to say that reversing that CMake change does bring back autocomplete.
Yeah, I changed to the older version of High Fidelity, and it's pretty cool.
Have you guys never heard of that Hi-Fi had an autocomplete?
No.
Apart from toys?
I knew
Uh,
about
Toys
it.
doesn't get to
I think
answer.
it's crap.
I never heard of it.
Oh,
I'm the one that told you guys that you needed JS docs.
No,
Marcus,
I
you do know
I
that
I made it
you know
actually.
that. Yeah, yeah.
What were you saying again?
Toys made the autocomplete in console.
Well, it's crap.
Well, you're crap. End of discussion.
Well, you didn't get paid for it. What are you complaining about?
Uh,
You don't realize how much you use it until you lose it.
I actually don't use console all that much. I do most of my stuff in Visual Studio Code, so
Yeah, Marcus, you're not a true coder. You're
Yeah.
not.
you're
Now
like a
remember
code
when you could
mouse or
actually
something.
edit in world? That was nice.
oh no, absolutely. The console is essential. I mean, if you just need to test out quick little things.
I use the console all the time.
Are we gonna bring back the script editor?
I think
For
we
spaces?
should. I would love to. I think there's lots of ideas we've had in the past that were shot down that we're gonna want to
Well,
retry.
if someone wants to make a big enough stink, I'm pretty sure someone can bring it back.
Why not?
Honestly, if we could
Why not get
just
something
address,
better back?
Yeah.
I mean, if we could just address the problem with caching, right? That would solve. I mean, if I could just
I hate
save
hearing
in
about
Visual
caching.
Studio Code, and then whatever was
What?
loading the scripts recognized that there was a change and I acted appropriately, that would help, right?
Or you could just refresh them yourself, I guess. But that would be
You
useful.
can, but that the
Or
whole
record when
like
you
date
last logged
now
in and ask for
hacks
all
and
updates.
What?
I think that
No,
local
you.
changes shouldn't affect the caching, right?
they don't, but I think they
What?
should.
No, I mean
What?
they are not cached, right?
Oh, they're
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
cached.
just
last
go
time.
to running scripts
Yeah.
and hit the spinny icon,
Yeah.
and that reloads scripts. That reloads that script.
Yeah. Of course, we need another button that pauses that script.
Mm.
And it doesn't address things like if I'm including other scripts.
And entities. Wait, what? Oh. Well, that's just normal caching though. Just put a date dot now on.
No, yeah, and I
Overfire.
do, and that's kind of icky.
Of course, that
Yeah,
fills up the cache unless you have a cleanup process.
at the moment the entities, I think they're all together under one script engine or something,
Yes.
which makes
Oh
it.
yeah, the entity script engine is just one script. Yeah.
Yeah, so
But
maybe if
that's got auto
yeah,
detection.
yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe for development purposes, there could be another script engine for entities that just lets you work on one script or something.
Sandbox or firewall. Yeah, sandboxed script engine. Which might be interesting if you could spin up sandboxed engines.
I hope someone's noting this down.
Ken is
Or
recording.
otherwise we're just. I don't know if he's still recording because the meeting's
Yeah,
over.
I am. The related conversation hadn't stopped, so I'm still recording.
Guess we need to put up our own ideas board that we can keep track of all our ideas.
There is a thing on Trello where people can, I believe, put their ideas and feature requests. Although I don't know, did Khalil ever make that public, or is it still private?
So for authentication with domains, I'd like to also be able to use your public key as an alternative if the metaverse goes down.
I like that idea.
So you don't have to be dependent on a metaverse at all.
if you just share public keys around each other.
Yeah.
And you can also verify that that person is you then.
Yep. I like that idea.
So have like a initial key
But
gem or
how does
something
that
that
work
will
for
share that key.
non-technical users?
They just click a button to make an identity, and then
Yeah,
they
but
have a key.
how well did that work out with everyone getting their wallet and stuff like that, and High Fidelity just saying, "Oh, this is gonna be great. All they have to do is learn cryptocurrency."
Or we just go
Yeah,
shake
well,
hands and we'll share our public keys.
you could have an option for the metaverse to store it if you are like willing to live with the risk of losing your identity.
Everyone in this room has some sort of technical knowledge, otherwise they wouldn't be here in High Fidelity right now. This is not the standard subset of people that's going to be using this platform.
No, but I mean,
I think it's an option. It's an
yeah,
excellent one.
it's an option, and I mean, if
Key-based
you
integration.
have your identity locally, if you register with the metaverse, it could store it locally or whatever. And then you still have your identity whenever every shit hits the fan, whatever.
That's all well and good, but what about the non-technical users?
They will not see it happening, right?
Yep. How? So when you first run it, it creates your keys in the background, and then you
Yeah.
basically it automatically shares them. Like I
Yeah.
shake your hand, and all of a sudden both our clients exchange their public keys.
Yeah.
Okay, what problem?
It's like a...
Hi-Fi currently cannot generate keys like
Sorry?
that. Well, they can, but well, no.
Or just do something like key-based integration where we.
Yeah,
but
that's
then
what I
everyone
was
has to sign
thinking
up
of
for
too,
key-based.
but that's yeah.
A little bit more technical.
Preferably want to make your own alternative, which is the metaverse.
Mm-hmm.
Toys, are you saying like SSH type of deal? So you
Yeah,
use...
SSH type of deal.
Okay, so you generate over SSH and then you share your public key but keep your private key in that sense, just over.
Yeah, that's
Hi-Fi.
happening on the background then. So
Oh, okay.
you wouldn't... Sorry?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The interface could also behave as a kind of a wallet without, being obvious about it.
Yeah.
I know one of the things I'd like the interface to do, for example, is being able to sync up interface settings. Like, so if I move from an interface on this computer to the one on my Linux computer, I would like that stuff to sync up. I want my avatar bookmarks and all that stuff to sync up. And if there's a way to back up
backup restore
keys safely and securely, that would be nice.
Well, maybe there should be a shared settings file.
Yeah.
Which is shared on the metaverse somehow, which you upload by every time you change something or something. I don't know. But,
every time you log in and log out.
Yeah, or so.
So every time you log out, it's saved on the metaverse.
Yeah, and I wouldn't put every little setting in there, just the ones that you want to be shared. So you have to decide on what you what kind of settings those would be.
And of course, that'd be still using your private and public key to encrypt during transmission to the metaverse, right?
Yeah. Well, the metaverse is probably on HTTPS, so as long as you're identified correctly, should be no problem.
In the end, it doesn't really matter as long as it's easy for
Mhm.
users.
Yeah.
Just like Google integration and upgrading to your Google Drive or some other system if you wanted.
Yeah, and Google, for
Oh my
example,
god,
you have
that would be a great idea actually. We'll just use Google Sign In.
yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting you should bring that up, though. I mean, even with Google, and Google's pretty darn easy to manage. But if you want to, you can make it difficult. I mean, like I use at least on one of my Google accounts, I use the what do they call it? The advanced protection. So I actually have to have a key, a physical key, when I log in on a new machine.
Like one of the
But
UB
obviously
keys.
not everybody wants to have that hassle.
Yeah, just save the settings file in Google Docs automatically. It's fine.
Actually, the thing is that Google saves things separately as well. So if you're saying something into your Android phone, like Google look me up something, it records that and saves it on your Google account. Same thing with Amazon transactions and all sorts of things.
What?
If you, for example,
Are you basically saying that Google's listening and storing everything?
yeah, there's a video
Yeah,
up if you want to see that.
Yeah, we already know this, and that's not helping the conversation.
Oh, that's not what I meant. I meant like that the storing, you don't need to have this everything stored on a Google Drive. You can store it like that as well. I'm not trying to say that Google's listening in. I'm trying to say you can store other things.
That if they can do it, we
Why
can
didn't
do
you
it.
just say that?
You just made me look like a bad guy.
Or we just don't want to put all
Oh,
our
I
eggs
thought you
in one
was being a
basket.
bad guy.
No, I was trying to help. I'm always helping.
Oh. Oh.
Now I'm really embarrassed. Thank you very
Oh
much.
man.
At least he's not standing on the
I'm
table. That's what a
I'm
bad
actually
guy
getting
is.
red right now, IRL. God damn it.
Hey, if we're all friends, we're supposed to overlook each other's inconsistencies.
Is that how you put it? Oh, okay.
Quick, everyone pay attention to him so he gets more red.
No. I'm good, thank you. I'll be quiet now.
Can you cut this part out the video, Ken?
That's hilarious.
No, I'm zooming in and laughing my ass off. Actually.
I'm gonna go. I'm bye.
No, don't go.
No.
There goes my controls again.
Oh,
Figure out your
I think
transparency
he did
issue
go.
of your avatar.
Oh, I think he did go.
Damn.
No, I'm
I
sorry.
see his stats dropping. Oh, no, yay. Just alt tab.
Yay! How do you applaud again?
How
Well, I
how
do want to
what?
thank everybody for.
Yeah, like
I
the
think
short-
I think you just said
Clap,
click and move.
clap app.
Oh yeah,
these
I
meetings
forgot
are
about that.
awesome. Even if like some of us just show up an hour late. Toys.
Sorry?
Nothing.
I wasn't here before.
I know. That's what I was
Kind
saying.
of what he was getting at, yeah.
Because I wasn't home. How could I be here? I'm not home.
Excuses.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Toys, do you want to? I know Kalila is probably going to be indisposed. Do you want to, or do you want me, or one of us? Should we just go ahead and approve or merge Fluffy's audio fix?
So that
I
was
thought-
completely tested, or?
I tested it as well as I could.
Okay.
I thought it was.
It's already merged.
Is it? No, it's approved.
I don't know. Oh.
It's
Why
approved
is
by
there so
everybody
many different
except for Kalila.
stages?
Because there's a whole process.
Yeah, what I did was I built it on both Windows and Linux, and then on Windows, I ran it 10 times with the HMD disconnected,
Okay.
trying to recreate the issue, and it successfully detected audio devices all 10 times. I then reconnected my headset just to make sure that VR wasn't fucked, and VR works fine. I can tell you that it runs just fine on Linux. I have no way of testing VR on Linux, however. So that's about as much Q&A as I can provide.
All right. Well,
Can someone also
it
take a look
merged.
at the secondary graphics as well,
Well,
please?
I don't know how to test that though.
I don't think anyone does, because the only way I could get it happen is to just turn my secondary camera on and off a lot. But when I tried to like force it, it wouldn't happen. So I have no idea how to fix it, but that is the fix for it, because it was happening continuously when I didn't want it to, and it was the same thing every time. So
You just get. Looks like you just added a couple knots. If not this, if not that.
mm. But yeah, it fixes it, and like
I don't know. I'll wait for.
I haven't seen any performance degradation or anything because I use it all the time.
I don't know. I mean, I'll wait for Toys to like code review it, and if he likes it, I'll like it. Yay.
It's literally 2 lines, but if you want to go look,
Well, it's actually
have
6.
fun.
I think that somebody already reviewed
Mm.
that one, right? When was that?
Well,
Secondary.
Kalila requested a review for me, but I really, like I said, I don't know how to test it.
Samuel approved the code.
Oh.
And
Okay.
I mean, the changes, they can't hurt anything. So I say we should just put it in. It's a fail-safe.
Fine by me. It's getting my stamp of approval.
Hooray!
And God, I need to change my gravatar.
I like that Sam approved it.
It's Sam approved.
The seal of Sam.
Does Sam have a seal?
I don't know. He might.
A pet seal.
And Vegaslat, I thank you so much. Oh, is he still here? Are you still here? I guess he's not.
No.
Well, if he watches the recording later, awesome that he stepped up helping to change the documentation. I don't know if we want to merge that yet until maybe we get a project name. I mean, like an official project name nailed down.
Mm-hmm.
Although it probably, yeah, you know what, we probably do want to commit it though, because at least it reflects what he did is he updated the build instructions, and right now it does like, because I went and changed our project into Athena, so people aren't going to find a hi-fi solution file and. So I guess I could just merge that in if there are no objections.
Sorry, which one was that?
Number 34, which I just merged.
Already done.
Yeah, we don't know if this repository is gonna be staying case in VR.
Yeah,
If we wanna,
at least for now, I guess I
yeah.
figured that at least it now reflects our actual build process. So
Okay, yeah. Well, that's fine.
if we have to change it again, we'll change it again. And I know Dale still's working on trying to figure out his graphics preset thing. And Kalila is still kind of futzing with whitelisting.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry, I thought I was muted.
Yeah, so what does the QML whitelist do?
The QML whitelisting in particular, my understanding is that it allows you to specifically whitelist a remote QML file.
Yes.
Okay.
Whereas beforehand, it would only allow QMLs loaded from
Local.
hi-fi content,
Yeah.
I think.
Okay.
Hi-fi content and local.
Gotcha.
So that PR basically enables things like people can have a QML on a web server.
Ribbit.
Yeah, so this week I did some test with this GitHub Actions building, and it built it completely. Just failed to upload the, how do you call it, the artifacts, because I didn't have that set up. But it builds in like an hour or so. That's good.
Cool. What'd you build it under? Windows latest or?
No, the GitHub Actions, there's a OS X action which takes like 40 minutes, and there's a Windows one which takes an hour.
Yeah. Well, there's a bunch of targets. I mean, you can do Ubuntu. Windows.
Yeah, but I'm just using the file from Austin that he had
Okay.
in the current version, trying to get those PRs over to our version so we can benefit from the GitHub action building.
Yes, please. Because I've pretty much been the build server all week, so.
I just need somebody to provide an S3, or I can do it myself.
Might want to talk to Dale. I think Dale's.
Yeah, he said maybe this weekend, but didn't really talk to him yet.
When you say
I don't have an
artifacts, is that
S3,
gonna
but I
like?
can.
Sorry?
No, I was gonna say I don't have an S3, but I can give you a VM.
How many terabytes is that?
How much do you need? I probably have 800 gigabytes left on the server I can assign.
Okay. Well, that's an option.
So when you say artifacts, is that like a packaged build?
Yeah.
People can download and test? Oh, okay, awesome.
Yeah, and with the GitHub action, I'm not really sure if any of the environment variables are shown publicly or whatever, because I wouldn't want credentials to be shown, so trying to figure out how that goes. And I mean, if I put any credentials in there and somebody makes a weird PR that contains a line, write this credential down or something, that would be bad, you know?
Yeah.
So trying to figure out how to get around that.
Okay. I mean, hopefully only collaborators can. Well, and only certain collaborators can do stuff like that. But so how hard was it? Were you able to actually just literally set it up? You know, on this event, this build target, this command, and then just CMake it, and then it built? Was it that easy?
Well, this I think this script that Austin made has a lot of things in it. It has CMake in there and a couple of other things it's doing.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Can check.
I still don't see why you don't like this autocomplete. I went through a bunch of namespaces and they all seem to have their different properties.
Yeah, and it should show the description of its function as well when you type it in, right?
Yeah,
Because
that's
you can't
nice.
hit tab.
So when will the official K2 come out?
Hopefully before the 15th. I don't know if we're gonna do K2 or K3 in terms of like having an installer and everything ready. I just don't know. We're in a lot of ways we're kind of figuring things out as we go along. And we do certainly have a sense of urgency, but we're also figuring things out. So
Does the current build still say K1?
the zip file that's available is K1, yeah. K2 you kind of have to build yourself.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and end the recording here.
That's cool. Thank you, Ken.
Sure.